What I've seen when guys get into setting boundaries is they can go way over the fucking top and set way too many, way too quickly, and actually can lose and upset important people in their life, and they can lose important relationships because they're going way over the top with it. So I think like my experience with setting boundaries is find the ones that are playing the most havoc in your life and start small with that and set one or two that contribute to your own self-respect and self-worth. Make yourself better. So if there's things that you're neglecting right now that might be around your own health, your own wellness, and it's because you're not setting some clear boundaries, I would start with that, because then you're massively killing two birds with one stone. Is that you're starting to assert your needs there, and you're also looking after yourself, so which will contribute to your own self acceptance.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw in fitness actually. Like when men and women would put themselves first in their day, like they would get up at 6, come and train, and that act was, oh, actually, it's my need to move and train and eat well, so I'm going to put that first. And I think it wasn't an overt conscious choice. They weren't going, I'm going to start a fitness or a body transformation to put myself first. But what would happen as a knock-on effect of that, they would lead better, be a better parent, be a better employee, and that's what, I think the subconscious was what was going on. The other one, this is something that I've noticed, that in order to set boundaries, to be a kind, direct, honest man, you absolutely need to be okay with your anger. And this is, when you were talking about perfect people before, the what I was trying to portray, especially in my 20s, was like, I'm this happy-go-lucky, jumpy, energetic guy who doesn't have anger, who doesn't say, angry things to people. And we talked about that disciplinary thing before. I didn't want to be perceived as that, because I had an angry man is a bad man. That's a bad thing for a man to be. That's imperfection. That's bad. So I would hide that. And I think that's what I noticed that was a big issue for me personally, is that anger was a real struggle of mine. And I think that's something that if you want to do especially the boundaries work, especially the being a direct person, being better in conflict, is getting intimate with your anger, getting in a state where anger doesn't mean violence, where anger and conflict doesn't mean breaking down a relationship. And that's something I've certainly seen personally over the last 6 months, is that me and Poppy over the last 6 months have had more conflict than we've ever had in our entire relationship, but we're in a better place. We're in a much better place. We've come so far as a couple because there's been moments where we've both been angry, but now instead of conflict meaning that we break down the relationship, we can see that it's actually getting us closer and closer together. And our model for conflict was, she'd get pissed off, I'd get pissed off that she was pissed off, we would have space, we would come together, have this kind of short, intense spat where I'd be angry, she'd shut down, I'd be angry that she wouldn't get into the conflict, and then nothing would be said, then 2 days later we'd make up. And albeit that was like super unhealthy, we never got into resolution. And since really working on that, we both now, in the moment, we will push together in moments like that. We will actually have conflict where we will say our piece, we will be angry, and then we will come to some sort of resolution. And then instead of having a big apology 2 days later, we're actually closer together.
Okay, so let's unpack what you just said.
Yeah.
What did you say? You said that you'd get angry and you'd get blah, blah. So
yeah,
boundaries. So back in the day, in another lifetime, before I became a psychologist, I went to law school, right? And studied to be a lawyer, right? And so in the last year of your LLB degree, you get to study the law of contracts, right? And so what's the first thing they teach you about contracts? What is the defining feature of a contract?
The bright lines.
The boundaries. Every contract has a boundary. So in law, there's a concept called bright lines. And so a bright line is the specific written rules, right? So contracts have two things. There's an overt contract and there's a covert contract, right? So in the law, right, you literally are taught that your contracts, right? A contract literally is to do with performance. So if I do A, right, if I perform in X manner, then something else will happen, right? So what happens is I need a bright line. I need solid boundaries that the contract will operate within the confine of those boundaries. If any of the parties step over the boundary, right, we are in danger of the contract being invalidated, right? But it is an overt line, right? What do we do as men, as nice guys, right? Pete's my partner, right? So I have a covert. It's not an overt. I have a covert agreement with Pete, an unspoken agreement that says, well, if I do A for you, right, what the fuck do I get in return? Right? But it's not written out, right? So it's my need that if Pete, you know what, if I take out the garbage, right, if I give you a massage, if I do everything for you, if I try to make you happy, right, what do I get in return? But because I've never said this out in writing, I've never literally said that if I do A, B, C, and D, I expect this. But I keep it to myself, right? Then guess what? I'm fulfilling Pete's needs, but Pete's not fulfilling my needs in return, right? So then what happens? How do I respond? Well, I get frustrated. I get annoyed. Passive aggressive. I get upset. I resent. My anger shows up 3 days later. So you did something to me today. I stew, and 3 days later, well, when I can't control it anymore, right? And it's literally because we haven't set the boundaries, we haven't set the bright lines, we haven't created a covert written agreement saying, right, that if I'm going to do this, I need to be honest and say, if I'm doing this for you, well, I expect this in return, right? But because we're manipulative, but because I believe, well, if I voice out my concern, my partner won't approve of me. She won't accept me, right? So I have this in my head, this little covert agreement, this covert contract that says that I'm going to do all of these things for you, right? But you need to be a fucking psychic, be a mind reader, know what I want, and if you don't, oh my god, you're so fucking selfish, you're a bitch. How did you not know what I wanted in return?
You should just know.
Yeah, you shouldn't have known. You should have known. You
should
didn't
have known. How did you not know that? How can you not know that?
Yeah, and so I think what men need to do is to be extremely clear on those bright lines. What are the things that is acceptable, what's not acceptable? If my partner crosses the line, that's not acceptable for me. But more than that, right, is to make sure that our contracts are overt, that they're set in stone, that we've clearly defined them. That if I'm doing this for you, there's nothing wrong with saying, well, I'm doing this, and you know what? I want something in return. Whether it's an acknowledgement, a sense of gratitude, whatever.
Yeah.
But not to assume, and again, it comes back down to, we've literally, I think as men, we fucking gamified the good deeds we do. We have. Because I count all of the good deeds I do for you, right? I expect something in return. I expect sex. Or fucking you looking good, wearing fucking hot lingerie and fucking me tonight, or making me a meal, or acknowledging me, but I don't ever say it. And then when those things don't happen, I'm pissed off, I'm angry, I'm upset.
Yeah, and I think there's something that I realised that happened. It was for me, and I've seen it. I've talked about other guys and coach guys through this as well. Is that something happens in their life where their partner does something, and they get angry, and they think it's about that one thing in the moment. But then what happens is it brings up all of the all of the things that they've chucked on the pile over the last, say, couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years. And it's in that moment, it's not that thing that they're angry about. It's all the things that have racked up to that moment. And that's why guys will often get blamed for being aggressive, violent, thingy, because what they do is they stay quiet, and then boom, it's that one thing, and it's like, oh my God, he really lost his temper over this one little thing. And it's like, it wasn't the one little thing, it's the fact that they've stayed quiet. I think